Hello, everybody. Jonathan Pulley here with West Coast Weather. Today is December 4th, and we're going to talk about this powerful atmospheric river that's starting to move into the Pacific Northwest right now. Alaska is up here, and Washington, Oregon, and British Columbia is hidden under this shield of rain here on the satellite. You can see the parent cyclone spinning in the Gulf of Alaska. This is what's pulling this subtropical moisture up from the southwest. This is actually originating all the way from China, so I guess you could call it a Panda Express instead of a Pineapple Express, as we usually call it. You can also see some convective bands or thunderstorm-like showers in the atmospheric river itself. That means there's some instability out there in the air, so that may enhance some of the rainfall rates over the mountains, leading to more flooding. And then we're also going to take a quick look at the extended forecast. It looks like we have a few more systems after this going into later this week and into the weekend before we may get a bit of a break, but there's still plenty of time to look in that time frame. But without further ado, let's get right into the video. Now we're looking at the general ridge and trough positions. You can see our powerful storm system out here over the Gulf of Alaska, and then you can see we're in kind of in between this ridge to our east and this storm system to our west. This is causing the atmospheric river to be pointed right into the Pacific Northwest. This kind of meanders over the next couple of days before it weakens and moves through the area as another system on Thursday and into Friday. That'll bring some more rain showers to Washington and Oregon. And then you can see that another trough looks the kind of sweep by the region on Saturday. Some models are showing a potential atmospheric river with that, but it's not going to be anywhere near the strength of this one that's moving through right now. Then we may get a bit of a break, but models are starting kind of disagreeing after the Saturday, Sunday time frame. So we're just going to have to continue to watch this later this coming week. And then if we look even farther out, you can see maybe more storm systems after that. But it looks like we're going to keep up a generally active weather pattern here for the West Coast, and especially the Pacific Northwest. And if we go over to the precipitable water normal anomaly, this is basically how much precipitable water there is in the atmosphere compared to the normal. So you can see the reds and the browns are way above normal moisture in the air. This kind of this is a perfect example of an atmospheric river. It's basically this rather narrow band of heavy precipitation rates and also lots of moisture content from the subtropics and the tropical regions. And this kind of meanders and really just slams the Cascades with lots of rain. And usually these atmospheric rivers are kind of shallow in nature, which means that most of the moisture can't get over the high mountains of the Cascades. This results in the moisture being wrung out and causing some really heavy rainfall rates over the mountains. And this can cause river flooding, which is going to be expected as we go into Tuesday and Wednesday after most of the rain is already fallen and starting to run off the mountains. And now let's look at the mean sea level pressure. You can see this powerful cyclone over the Gulf of Alaska. Thankfully, this isn't much closer where we'd be dealing with a major windstorm, but mainly just some gusty winds along the coastlines in the northwest interior and parts of western Washington as well. But this kind of is starting the weekend fill as it moves northward into the Gulf of Alaska, still keeping the atmospheric river going as we go into Tuesday, but it's gradually weakening. You can see this weak system on Thursday and Friday that I've been talking about. That kind of moves through the area, and then we get a bit of a break as a ridge of high pressure builds over the area. But you can see that the European model, this morning's the European model that's fresh off the press. It's bringing another system in on Saturday, and other models are showing that as well. This is going to potentially bring another atmospheric river in the western Washington and Oregon and southwest BC. Maybe another short ridge before another couple systems come through the area, but there's still plenty of time to look at this time frame. Now here's the 6-hour precipitation totals in inches. You can see the rain gradually picks up as we go through this afternoon and evening before peaking later tonight around maybe midnight time frame. But you can see some 6-hour precipitation totals showing up in this max down here, over 2 inches. So that's some pretty heavy amounts that will likely lead to some river flooding and heavy runoff from the mountains as this rain and warm temperatures are going to start melting some of the snow in the Cascade, and that's going to lead to some excessive rainfall runoff. And then you can see it kind of dies off and weakens over Oregon But it looks like Oregon's going to stay in the bullseye, though, as this weak system continues some moisture evacuation into Oregon and parts of Western Washington in the Thursday and Friday before dying off. And then you can see maybe another atmospheric river this Saturday, but we'll continue to watch this. I'll have a video out on Friday talking about that. And then additional systems possible after that. Here's the total snow and Cuchero ratio. It basically is the snowfall ratio comparing the amount of snow to the temperatures as well. So warmer temperatures usually means less snow, but it's going to be heavier. And colder temperatures means more fluffy snow, typically meaning more snow is going to fall. And if we play this out, you can see really no snowfall except maybe the higher terrain of northern Washington and some of the higher terrain near Whistler and BC. Everywhere else is likely to not get any snow at all. Maybe the very peaks of Mount Rainier as well. But that means that there's going to be a lot of rain falling on the fresh snowfall that fell over the weekend, which is going to lead to even more water content going into the rivers, which is going to exacerbate the flooding problem. And you can see as we go through this weekend, some of these grays starting to pop up over the lowlands. As the next system comes in over the weekend, there may be some chilly air from that ridge that maybe lingers. So we may see a few wet snowflakes over the region as we go into late Friday and the Saturday morning. Nothing too much expected with that, except if you're in eastern Washington, you may get another light dusting to maybe an inch of snowfall out there, and it's especially the higher terrain of the Cascades and the Blue Mountains and all the way into the Rockies of Idaho and Montana. And that'll be a good little snowstorm out there for those mountains. And now this is the 10,000 foot temperature in Celsius. So anything beyond this cold, like bluish, gray, white color, whatever you want to call it, is above freezing. Any of these brighter colors down here are above freezing. You can see that this is 10,000 feet. You can see that the snow levels on later tonight into Tuesday are going to be up above 10,000 feet, which means only but the highest peaks of the mountains of the Olympic Mountains and the Cascades are going to be getting snowfall, which is what's going to lead to the excessive rain runoff as we go through tonight. And then you can see the freezing levels drop back down as the colder trough starts moving through on Thursday. Now let's look at the National Blended Models total precipitation inches. And if we just let this play out, look at this precipitation that builds up through late this week. You can see maybe over 3 inches for Seattle, around the same amount for Portland. Over maybe 6 to 10 inches of rainfall in the mountains, with locally higher amounts in the Olympics and coastal ranges and the higher peaks of the Cascades. And then you can see also the major rain shadowing effect over the Whidbey Island, the San Juan and Sequim area, and down near Port Townsend and Port Angeles. This is going to lead to lower amounts, but still maybe 1 inch to 2 inches possible for those areas down there. And then you can see the precipitation piling up as we go through next weekend, because there's going to be probably some more systems moving through then. Now let's look at the 10-meter wind gusts on the European Mall. You can see as we go through, this is about right now. You can see the wind starting to pick up in the northwest interior and on the coastlines. Gusts the 40 to 45 miles per hour possible with that. There's going to be some isolated gust potential in the 50 mile per hour range. I'll show you that in a minute. But you can see maybe over 50 miles per hour on the coastlines, as I was saying, higher amounts possibly in the higher terrain of the Olympics. You can see that the Hurricane Ridge may get into up near the Hurricane Ridge, may be approaching 60 miles per hour. That's why it's called Hurricane Ridge up there in the Olympic Mountains. And then you can see the winds kind of gradually die down as we go through Tuesday, remaining gusty on the Oregon coast. If we look at the 10-meter wind gusts on the NAM 3KM, you can see it's got a better idea on these wind gusts for the coastlines and northwest interior. It's showing 51 miles per hour NAS would be over in the northwest interior of Washington state, and you can see higher gusts in the terrain, and also on the coast maybe approaching 60 miles per hour on those open beaches. So just be careful if you're out there. They're kind of used to this out here during the winter months, but still can cause some localized power outages and definitely some rough surf. So make sure that keep your eyes on the water and don't turn your back on the ocean. Now let's look at the composite reflectivity on the NAM 3 cam. This is basically what the radar may look like. You can see as we go through today the rain picking up in the Cascades and parts of the lowlands. You can see the rain shadowing effects up near Squim, Whidbey Island, and the San Juans, reducing the rainfall amounts. And then you can see this powerful front associated with the atmospheric river moving through late tonight into Tuesday, maybe heightening some of the precipitation rates for maybe an hour or so for parts of the lowlands and the mountains. Then this kind of just continues through the day on Tuesday. And if we update this, we can go out a little farther than before. And you can see the this additional system moving through Wednesday and the Thursday. The NAM has that going through a little earlier. And then showers continue as we go through later this week. Now let's look at the 48-hour precipitation total in inches on the NAM. You can see maybe up to 25 inches of precipitation on Mount Adams and Mount Rainier. The NAM kind of overdoes these mountain totals, especially for the Rainier and Mount Adams, but you can see generally some 6 to 10 inch plus totals for the mountains, which is going to flow into the rivers and melt some of the snow as well on top of that. And you can see 1 to 2 inches for parts of the northwest interior. Maybe the NAM actually showing the rain shadowing even stronger near Port Angeles and Squim, maybe only getting up to a few tenths to a half an inch of rain. And maybe overdoing those totals, but these rain showers can be pretty strong. And you can see Eastern Washington, Oregon kind of just getting missed out on this, except some of the higher terrain in Northeast Washington. Now, this is the total snowfall and the Cuchero ratio for the NAM 3 cam. This is through Tuesday, and you can see hardly anything popping up on the Cascades except the highest terrain of the Olympics and the northern Cascades. And then you can see, if you look at the max snowfall, you can see over 200 inches that's for Mount Rainier right there. It's not going to get over that's like almost 20 feet of snow, and we're not going to be getting that. But just shows that if you can get an atmospheric river and cold air, which the cold air is still going to be there in the top of Mount Rainier, you can get some extreme snowfall totals in the mountains. And now, if we look at the daily max 2-meter temperature in the national blend models, you can see it's kind of warming up, kind of warmer today and tomorrow as we go through, because this atmospheric river is going to start bringing some modestly warm temperatures from the southwest, maybe approaching 60 in Seattle. That's pretty good for December standards. Warmer in the 80s for parts of Southern California, but that's kind of normal for this time of the year. And then you can see the temperatures drop after the cold front moves through, and as the cold trough goes over the area later this week, with high temperatures dropping into the 40s for parts of Western Washington, Oregon. Now let's look at the ensemble members on the European model. You can see Whidbey Island is showing generally some pre-windy conditions approaching 50 miles per hour. And you can see maybe some gusty winds as well as we go through this weekend, but we'll continue to look at that as well. Here's for Seattle, breezy conditions there today as well. And then if you go down to the Tillamook Airport on the Oregon coast, you can see also some gusty winds all the way through Tuesday night as well. Now, this is the National Weather Service map. This is showing all the watches and warnings for weather. You can see the most of the action right now is happening in the Pacific Northwest, with flood watches and flood advisories up for much of the Pacific Northwest, with gale warnings on the coastline, some wind advisories up for Western Washington, some high wind warnings up for the northwestern Montana, and some winter weather advisories up for northeastern Washington as well. Here's a good graph for the National Weather Service of Seattle 48-hour rainfall forecast for the 8 inches for the Cascades and the Olympic Mountains, half inch to 1.5 inches for parts of the northwest interior where the rain shadow is, 2 to 3 inches for a lot of the general lowlands, maybe 3 to 4 inches for parts of the coastline. Flood potential, you can see that a lot of the area rivers like the Skagit, the Skykomish, and the Snohomish rivers are going to start approaching moderate and major flood stage. So keep an eye out on those river forecasts as we go through tomorrow and Wednesday, especially for those that live in flood prone areas. And here's the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook for December 10th through the 14th. Generally above average temperatures, but we saw that some of the models are showing maybe some wet snowflakes this weekend. This is generally this week and into early next week, so it may not be accounting for those lower temperatures. 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook above average for the Pacific Northwest, below average for the California and the Southwest as the ridge of high pressure stays down there protecting them from most of the active weather. 10 to 14, 8, the 14-day outlook. This is December 12th through the 18th. Above average for the West Coast. There's still plenty of time to look at this, but this is what they're thinking for right now for this time frame. 8 to 14-day precipitation outlook above average for much of the West Coast and near normal for some of the interior locations. So definitely plenty of active weather to still look at as we go through middle of December. Well, that's it for this video. Big atmospheric river starting to move into the Pacific Northwest right now. Flooding potential in the area rivers and maybe some urban flooding in some of the metropolitan areas if there's storm drains that have not been unplugged. Hope everybody enjoyed this video. If you liked this video and found it informative, just please hit that like button, subscribe button down below. Also hit that notification bell if you don't want to miss out on any new videos I post. I may do my next video likely on Friday of this week. Stay safe, take care, and have a wonderful week.